Throughout the whole deal, the technical selection, we just really couldn't get people on the phone. So we got to this point in the deal where we got a great email from them. They were saying, hey, we do want to move forward with Procore. We're so excited. This is our time frame. And their time frame was way pushed out. I encouraged my rep to make the phone call. The rep said, she never answers the phone, Michelle. And I said, just make the phone call, leave a voicemail, send an email too on the side that says, hey, so excited to get that email from you. We can't wait to partner with you. I just got out of a meeting with our implementation team and I have an idea that I think is really going to benefit your team. Will you give me a call? 15 minutes later, the rep on my team gets a phone call back and they start working it out. Got everything clear so that we could do this deal when it worked for us and also when it worked for the customer too. And the only reason we were able to do that is because we got on the phone.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this episode of 30 Minutes to President's Club. My name is Armand Farouk, and I'm here with my co-host, Nick Skelski. And folks, today we have two-time President's Club winner at her current company. In 8 years at a single company, she's missed her quarterly number only 2 times and has hit her fully ramped quarterly number 11 quarters in a row from her very first quarter ever as an AE. And this is a masterclass in getting your customers on the phone and driving through the BS that slows down most deals. Her name is Michelle Cecil, and she's over at Procore. Nick, why should people listen?
So this was a great episode for a couple different reasons. Reason number one is Michelle sells to construction firms. This is not just another episode where you've got a salesperson selling to a salesperson. She is selling to a fairly technical, but also blue collar buyer. It's a very interesting space. So if you're selling to folks that are not typical SaaS, this is somebody that you're going to want to learn from. We got into some deal horror stories and mistakes that Michelle wishes she could undo that she learned in deals in the past. And then also some really great examples of how she turned around other deals using some of those learnings. If you want to learn about best practices around getting customers to actually get on live with you in between meetings, honestly, I got humbled in this episode when it came to best practices for giving references. This is one to give a listen to. And I encourage you to listen to the end because Michelle shared something around her working hours that, frankly, I think is going to scare a lot of people listening to this, but it's a message that more folks need to hear.
And a 3, 2, 1, scary message.
All right, Michelle, welcome back to the show. You may remember that we start every single episode with your top 3 actionable takeaways, so let's get yours.
Takeaway number 1, never negotiate in writing. You can offer a carrot on a stick in writing, text, email, but never negotiate in writing. Carrot on a stick would be something like, hey, I think we have more options than I previously thought. Can you give me a call this afternoon? Something as simple as that will earn you a phone call. And if your prospect is serious and they're serious about buying your solution and serious about buying your solution under the terms that they want, then they're going to take that phone call.
Beautiful. What's number 2?
Number 2, name drop references in the first sentence of every engagement you have with your prospect or customer, whether you're talking about pricing, whether it's a very first discovery call or a product demonstration. Always, always, always be name dropping and referencing. I use the example of the pest control company that knocks on my door. They reference Greg and Rita up the street, and I very quickly let them in my house to take care of the ants. But as we're selling software as well, it's hugely important, especially in my industry, selling to construction, to let our customers and prospects know who the peers and competitors that they have in the area that are also using our solution, also on the same accounting system, might have the same connector. It breeds a ton of trust. That's the most important part. We know what we're talking about. We know who you know. We're in the neighborhood as well.
Beautiful. Round us out, Michelle. What's number 3?
Eliminate BS rapport. People usually don't really want to talk to software salespeople about sports. We might like talking about sports, especially during football season. I don't know about baseball season, but BS rapport erodes trust. What it builds trust and what we want in the very first interaction, especially with any of our prospects and customers, is to build trust. We build trust by name dropping current customers that we have that are near them, by letting them know we understand their business, by telling them what we noticed about their website or their LinkedIn profile. We don't build trust by liking the same football team or looking at their LinkedIn and knowing that they also went to the University of Oregon. They probably just don't really care. So we build trust by letting them know we understand their business and we're taking the meeting seriously. We erode trust by BS rapport.
So, Michelle, in the prep, you were talking about all of the horror stories of things should and should not communicate over email in sales. And so I think you gave us one really positive story and then one horror story. And so why don't we start with something positive? Could you give an example of a deal where you decided to pick up the phone And that sped it up massively versus ticky-tacky sending emails back and forth a million times.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one off the top of my head that I've been thinking about a lot where throughout the whole deal, the technical selection, the early parts of this one deal, we just really couldn't get people on the phone. They'd email us, we'd call, leave a voicemail, they'd email or respond to the voicemail. They would show up to the Zoom meetings, but they just would not pick up the phone or call us back. We kept trying. There's a rep on my team who's awesome, and she was working really hard to make sure that she got connection with her people in the right way. So she kept trying, but again, every time she called, they would respond via email or just not pick up. So we got to this point in the deal where we got a great email from them. They were saying, hey, we do want to move forward with Procore. We're so excited. This is our time frame. And their time frame was way pushed out, like very far pushed out. It wasn't going to be great for us from a quarterly standpoint and what we were trying to do as a team, but also it just probably didn't really make sense for them as a business and for our implementation plans. So I encouraged my rep to make the phone call. The rep said, she never answers the phone, Michelle. I don't know why I would call her again. She never answers the phone. And I said, just make the phone call, leave a voicemail, send an email too on the side that says, hey, so excited to get that email from you. We can't wait to partner with you. I just got out of a meeting with our implementation team and I have an idea that I think is really going to benefit your team. Will you give me a call? 15 minutes later, the rep on my team gets a phone call back and they start working it out. We completely changed the timeline. We cleared a lot of stuff up about implementation, cleared a lot of stuff up about contracts, got everything clear so that we could do this deal when it worked for us and also when it worked for the customer too. And the only reason we were able to do that is because we got on the phone.
A lot of times when I'm coaching reps or founders, they see an objection or a close loss reason over email, and their inclination is to handle it or pitch it. And you could, if you knew all of the information required to effectively handle the objection. And that's the problem when you're doing complex enterprise selling or mid-market selling, or frankly, even a lot of SMB deals, is if someone says something along the lines of like, hey, we were talking about this as a team and it just feels like the price is a little bit too high, right? I could blindly pitch and I could be like, well, we're this much more valuable than the existing solutions and all that stuff. But I don't know if this is a budget issue. I don't know if this is a pricing issue. I don't know if this is a value issue. I don't know if it's a value above your existing competitor issue. And I could ask you a question over email, but imagine how many back and forths I would have to have over email to properly handle the objection without shooting in the dark. So if you have all the information you need to handle the objection, maybe send it over email. But 9 times out of 10, you don't have all the information, and you're going to have to ask at least a couple of questions, and it's going to take 17 days over email.
Yeah,
totally.
I mean, this actually, it's funny you even talk about like getting on the phone live with them in the context of a negotiation, Armand. Last week, we interviewed Sean O'Brien, who was a rep that used to work for you, Armand, over at Carta. And he's got this really, really smart tactic that he uses when he's in like late stage negotiation, where he'll get on a Zoom with the customer and his call recorder will join. And he'll be like, hey, you know what? I actually want to have this conversation off the record. Are you cool if I boot my call recorder? And then he takes it out of the room and it totally lowers everyone's defenses in the negotiation because they're like, oh, like this rep's going to do me a solid here. And so getting on live with somebody, you get so much more than if you're right, sending 70 emails back and forth. Michelle, one thing, and then I want to go to the bad example of like where a deal got blown up because somebody didn't get on live. You were talking about this concept of carrots, and you were talking about all the information that you get live from somebody when you talk with them. And I know your team is doing some really interesting stuff like pre-big team demo. And I'm wondering if you can talk about how you pull more out of all of the stakeholders before you show up on that demo.
You have to have a good reason to call. You have to have a good reason to ask someone for their time that's about them. It has to be customer centric always and adding value always. And that's how you get calls back late in negotiations. Like the way you even get the respect to have that conversation is if you build value every time and build trust every time. So before first meetings, I recommend, hope all my reps do this, recommend they all do it, ask them all to do it, is to call every single person that's going to join that meeting and say, and if they don't answer, many of them don't answer, and we'll talk about what to do then, but call every single one and say, hey, I'm prepping this custom demonstration for the team tomorrow. Really excited to have you. Wanted to ask you a couple questions to make sure that we focus on your top priorities. And then when they don't answer, send them a text. Hey, Michelle from Procore. I'm the one leading your meeting tomorrow. I'm prepping for the meeting right now. Can you give me a call back? And maybe they call you back, maybe they don't. Quite honestly, they call me back a lot more than I would expect. And I think it's because it's about them and it's not vague. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I don't want to call somebody if I don't know what it's going to be about, even a friend. Like, I don't want to be on the phone. I don't want to do it.
Mhm.
I don't want to wind up on the phone for a long time, especially with a stranger. But if I know someone's calling me to talk about something that I care about, that I'm trying to fix, that I have a problem with now, and I need a solution for it, I'll take that phone call.
The most common place this happens is when someone asks for price over email. A lot of times I'll ask a seller, I'm like, great, what do you want? Well, it's like, I want to deliver price live so that I can see their reaction live and negotiate with them live and all that stuff. And I'm like, great. Now, why should they want to deliver price live?
Right.
Why should they want to hear price live? Because if you tell them, well, could I give you price live so I can see you like puke when I give you the quote? Obviously, that's not going to land. That's a seller-centric reason. The buyer-centric reason is, hey, there are a few different variables that impact the way that we price. And I would hate to give you something that isn't totally accurate. So can I buzz you around 3 p.m. later today just to like give you a sense of all the levers just so nothing's lost in translation? That's I want to make sure that we're taking care of you the right way. And the last pro tip.
And that's true. And it's just true. I mean, it's just true. I could toss out a number. It's probably not going to be right. So like, this is going to take longer, be harder. Let's get on the phone.
So what's the bad example?
I think part of it is we have to keep working the muscle of clicking the phone number and like actually dialing, even if people don't answer. Like in that good example, they hadn't answered the phone the entire evaluation. We thought they may not answer the phone on this either. And then they did because, you know, we gave them a good reason to. But I think when we get into a situation where we stop trying, then we just like are cutting off one leg when we're trying to win these deals. So we had a deal where there was a technical objection. And what we did is we got the email, we made one phone call. They didn't answer. So instead of trying to get a call, we sent over a really long email with like, hey, there's 3 options. You could do this, you could do this, you could do this. A ton of information in this email, screenshots, videos, like gave them all this information without having any reason to come back and talk to us. And the problem with that is, one, it's just not actually helpful. I'm not going to read that long of an email. And we sell to construction. They're on their phones. Like crazy to think that they'd read that long of their email in the truck between job sites, like opening up their phone, whatever, doing that. They're definitely not doing that. And shocker, we never heard back from them. So like that was it. We gave them a response. We thought they were going to pick 1, 2, or 3 option. They didn't. And of course they didn't. They were confused and probably like felt confused, felt overwhelmed, and backed away because of it. So what we should have done, what I think would have been the right move, is to say, completely understand where you're coming from on this. We've seen customers do one of 3 things. When's the best time to walk you through those 3 options? Me and my team could do today at 4, tomorrow at 8. That would have been, I think, the perfect response. And I think we would have gotten the deal done.
The piece about just picking up the phone and calling them is something that it was a lesson that I had to learn when I was selling ERP systems to law firms, because we had this happen a lot also. And I was newer to sales when I first started selling a pretty complex solution to these law firms. And I would get emails like the one that your rep did, which would say, hey, you know, we need to understand how this is going to integrate with our document management system because the attorneys really depend on this. And I'm not sure how they're going to see all that information. And I was a pretty conscientious guy. I was a pretty good student in college. Like I was very detail oriented. And I would write these emails that are like the length of the Declaration of Independence, where I'm like linking out to all of our support documentation and finding a case study from 3 years ago of someone who had the same document management system. And it was too much. And my manager, Tara, was like, Nick, like, what's going on? Why is this stuff taking so long? I'm like, I got to get the email right. And she's like, why don't you just call them? I'm like, yeah, but I don't have all the technical information. Like, I need to prepare all of this in the email. And she's like, do they need all the technical information, or do they just need to know that there's a couple different options available to them and other customers have solved this? And I remember I got one of these emails and I call the CIO of the law firm and I'm like, hey, I saw your note about how we would integrate with World Docs. There's like 2 or 3 ways that you can do it. I can send you a link to some support information. I can set you up with somebody on my team. And he's like, no, that's good. I just need to know that like you can do it. And not only did it answer his question and give me a chance to talk with him, because on that call we scheduled the next demo, it also saved me like 2.5 hours of writing that massive, massive email. And so I wish I had known that more when I was a newer rep, because it would have saved me so much freaking time.
One of my managers who taught me everything was so clear on this. He would say, clarity and simplicity drives confidence. If someone asks you a yes or no question and you respond with a 5-minute monologue, that's confusing. But if someone asks you a yes or no question and you say, yes, we can do that,
Yeah.
and then stop, you're giving someone the opportunity to respond and go further in what they want to understand from you. If you say, yes, we can do that. And like Nick, your example is so perfect, because if you had just said, oh, yes, we can do that. We have a couple different customers doing that a couple different ways. Done talking. Like, that's the biggest thing as salespeople. We need to be done talking. We have to like put a cork in it like all the time. But it's like, if you just are done, then they'll tell you what they need to know.
So, Michelle, we talked about one uplifting story or learning lesson where you saved a deal because you picked up the phone, and then one that burnt a deal because you didn't. You talked about a similar paradigm when it comes to references. And I've had a bunch of references that have literally sold 10 customers on my behalf. And I've had references that I'm like, I wish you never talked to another one of my customers ever again. And so could you give us a story on either side when it comes to handling references and sales?
What's going on, folks? There are literally only 2 things that you need to nail as a salesperson if you want to make it to President's Club. The first is your ability to fill your calendar up with meetings and create new pipeline, aka prospecting. The other thing you have to nail is your ability to drive those deals to close. And since you've made it this far in the video, I've got a gift to help you do both of those things. If you use the code YouTube at 30mpc.com/courses, you'll actually get $50 off our 2 best courses to help you nail both the creation of pipeline and the closing of pipeline. The first course is called Cold Calls to President's Club. And in that course, we teach you what to do, what to say, and how to sound in every single part of a cold call, from your call opener to how you pitch, to how you overcome objections, to voicemails and gatekeepers and more. The second course is our discovery course, which is focused on how to sell in a way that doesn't feel like selling. And in that course, we teach you how to uncover massive 6- and 7-figure business problems that companies actually want to pay to solve. And we'll teach you the way to structure your calls. We'll teach you the questions to ask. We'll teach you how to get to the decision maker and drive timeline and make discovery something that you know how to do effortlessly. And again, if you go to 30mpc.com/courses or go to the link below and use that code YouTube, you'll get $50 off any of the courses. I will see you at President's Club.
Let's start with the bad. We can end on the high note. This was kind of a while ago now, but I had a reference that I had set up that totally destroyed the deal. And I take full ownership. I think it was my fault and our fault as the sales team on it. So what happened was we organized the reference via text. In the text, our reference was just being very overtly negative about our competition, very overtly positive about their experience with us. Also, this is a great customer, really smart person. We've worked together a bunch. I have a great relationship with this guy. So I'm getting these texts and I'm like, great, he's good. And then I didn't take the next steps that I normally would take with any other reference. And I think it was because I knew him too well. You know what I mean? It's I know him well enough that I'm not worried about it, or I know him well enough that I'm letting my foot off the gas a little bit. I was too close to it. So instead of sending him some prep, meeting with him, talking with him on the phone or over Zoom about hey, here are your talking points. Here are the things we need to hit on. Here are the ways that we win this. These are the things that we really need from you from this reference call. I just trusted him to be able to take it. So I thought he was going to bring that same level of conviction, energy, strong feeling about our competition and about their experience working with us, which has been a great experience. I thought that conviction was going to come out in the meeting, but I watched the recording of the reference call and it was completely flat, felt completely flat. He I think felt the need to be really unbiased and not pushy and just say the benefits and the pros and cons to both solutions. And it lost us the deal because it took us from a place of a clear superiority in the deal to a place where my customer thought, oh, well, I talked to this reference that Procore set up and they were kind of neutral. So if that other thing's cheaper and they're kind of neutral, it's probably fine.
If you could go back and redo the prep, how would you normally prep an all-star reference?
Normally, and what we've done in other situations, is have a phone call with them. of course. And this is like my failure. It's not like anyone else's. So this is totally outside of what I would normally do. But normally have a phone call or a Zoom meeting where you prep them and then give them notes, like actual notes like you would give an SE or you would give anyone else joining your call, where it goes like, hey, these are the things they care about. These are the things to hit on. These are the experiences I know you've had that they're going to want to ask about. And then the other thing that I would do that we have to do, and we can't be shy when working with customers and prospects, is we have to prep the prospect and just say like, hey, here are the ways that this customer is similar to you. Here are the ways that this customer is different from you. And is that okay? Or what type of reference do you need? And so when someone asks, like, send me 3 references, that's another way you get on the phone and go, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we have 20,000 customers. I want to make sure that the customer that you work with and that you speak with is going to be the most helpful to you and is going to give you the best information. Let's talk for 20 minutes about what you need, and then I'll set you up with the best reference from there.
I mean, I think one of the things is you had this customer that had a ton of conviction in like why your solution was better than the competition when they were texting you, but these people, they're not professional salespeople. They don't know what
Exactly.
best practice for a reference call is. They don't even know like what truly matters to this other person. And when you get on live with them, you give them an opportunity to say, hey, like if you hit on these 3 points that they really care about and can help mitigate this one concern that they have about us over here, they're like, great. I need to say approximately 4 total paragraphs in this reference call.
Right.
Win for me. But if you don't communicate that stuff, you're going to miss. Question for you. How do you get your reference to get on a prep call with you? Because I know a lot of folks are like, hey, maybe I didn't sell this customer. I don't have a relationship with them, or they're really, really busy. I don't feel comfortable asking them. Like, what do you specifically say to the reference to get on live?
I am really assumptive. I mean, like Armand was talking earlier about pricing. I just tell people like, I'm going to call you at this time and to give you the price. And if they're like, just email it to me, I go, yeah, no, it's just going to be, wait, I'm just going to call you at this time.
Yeah.
I don't even like, I'm kind of just like, yeah, which maybe my vibe is unique, whatever, in that specific thing. But I think the same thing with the reference is like, okay, I'm going to give you a call at this time. Does that work for you? Or, hey, when are you driving today so I can call you while you're in transit and can talk to me on the phone while you're going? I will take notes. I will email you the notes. The other thing about a reference call that I feel really strongly about is like, I cannot stand the like email intro AE backs away. Like that is so crazy. Like we're asking people who've never met each other, don't know anything about each other, to just like blind date or something. That's wild. Like we have to say, Armand, I just talked to your reference, Nick. These are the times that he is available tomorrow. Do any of these times work for you, or is there a better time? Armand picks a time. I'm in the email. I say, great, I'm sending everyone a Zoom link. I control the Zoom meeting. I show up, I introduce everybody, I make sure everybody's feeling comfortable and confident, I set the agenda. Sometimes I'll even stay on unless it seems weird for me to stay on. But it's like, we gotta like control the things we can control. And unless someone explicitly tells me to not do something like 3 times, I'm gonna try and do it. You know what I mean?
There are 2 things I really want to push on that you just shared. Number 1, inside baseball with your champion happens off of Zooms. So
Yes.
you said, great, can I set up 2 meetings with you? One with our reference and then one with me? That feels really heavy. If I'm like, hey, we're about to go into this big team demo on Wednesday, can I give you a quick buzz the day before around like 3 when you're on your drive? There's something about, can I, 1, call, and then 2, call you? We're not jumping on a Zoom. It's like, I'm going to call you around this time. All you have to do is literally pick up the phone. That feels so much lighter than setting up another meeting. That's number 1. And then number 2, I want you all to imagine that you're putting 2 complete strangers together, right? 2 complete strangers together. One is your customer, one is your prospect. When you jump onto a sales call, what's the first thing that you do? You learn to set an agenda, right?
Yep.
I want you to imagine, what are these 2 people going to do when they jump onto a call without you? They're going to be like, so, how's it going? And I've seen
Hey.
it's awkward. It's like, I don't know you. I guess we're a customer. You're trying to be a customer. What are your questions? It's Q&A style. Like there's no, unless you teach your reference to set the agenda, I've seen these be so awkward. And there's something about your sales process always needs to feel like a show is being produced to a certain extent, and you need to maintain in control of the set. And the set includes an agenda and next steps at the end and beginning of every single call.
I feel so silly because I haven't been doing some of these things. One of the things I've been reflecting on a lot recently is the experience your customer has with you and throughout your sales process is a proxy for them for like how good your product is and how good your company is. And I put all of this work into like prepping for my disco calls, great demos, great conversations. And then it's a reference time and it's like, here you go. I made an email intro and I put it on my prospect to like do the coordination of times. They have to set up a Zoom. They're like, oh, I don't have a Zoom license. We use Teams. The other person uses Zoom. Now they're like trying to figure out the audio won't connect. And I'm just thinking about the experience that you give, Michelle, which is like, you're there, you look professional, you set a clear agenda, you like make sure these people sort of gel a little bit. And this is like the last mile of the deal. And if they have a positive, overwhelmingly positive experience, because like, folks, if you're listening to this, hopefully you think I'm a decently okay salesperson. I'm not doing this stuff. And I'm like, shoot, I should be. And so, like, less than 1% of salespeople will actually do what you just talked through. What a way to, like, cut through and totally stand out above your competition. Damn, that's good.
The last thing I'll say about reference calls is when you join a reference call, the agenda setting and intros is the same thing as when you have an SC join or have your VP join or have someone from implementation join. As you join and you say, Nick, this is Armand. Armand, this is Nick. I'm so excited to introduce you to Armand, a little bit about Nick. And then you tell the prospect about the customer all the great things. Like, there's so many great things that you can share and say and make someone feel really good about themselves and really understood and really heard and not just sold to, and then vice versa. So it's like, I think the last step of that is just introducing each one of them and making sure that you're being very complimentary, very encouraging, and very clear about these are the goals that Nick's trying to achieve. These are the things that he wants to do with our software and that he's hoping you can shed more light on your experience. You, Armand, have implemented so well. You all have been a great customer. You're very open and collaborative with us. Thank you for that. And thank you for being willing to open up the hood and share more with Nick. You know what I mean? It's like that intro where you're not just like, all right, you're all on. Bye. Good luck.
All right, Michelle, well, we are running out of time, and we have a new 30 MPC segment that we are ending these interviews with, which is called The Final Four. We're going to be ending every episode with these 4 questions. They're meant to be rapid fire, so I encourage short, tactical answers. I'll do the first one. Armand, we can alternate. First one, what is your number one cold call tactic?
No one will be shocked. My number one cold call tactic is name dropping information about the company of the person that you're calling and name dropping the references nearby. 100%. I think the very first thing out of your mouth should be, hi, my name's Michelle. The reason I'm calling is I work with XYZ company, ABC company, 123 company near you guys. We just started implementing 2 of the 3 of those on our new blank product. Calling because I know you also do projects that have BIM on them. What are y'all using for BIM right now?
What's your number one discovery question?
Why won't this happen? What is going to stop? And not during discovery, obviously. This is, you're in stage evaluation, but why is this not going to happen? What are you concerned about? What are your red flags on the initiative? What are your red flags on partnering with us?
What's the number one way that you get a prospect to respect you?
Understand their business, understand their industry, understand their location. Geographical location is big for construction, but understanding them, name dropping references, name dropping information about their projects and about their business and about their initiatives.
Lastly, what is the number one thing that you do outside of sales to make it to President's Club?
I don't work outside of 8 to 5 when my kids are awake. I might work before they wake up. If I need to do something, I might work after they go to bed. But when my kids are awake, I'm not working. I'm with my kids. And if my kids have a sick day, I will miss any customer meeting, any prospect meeting. I will bail on anything if I need to take care of my kids or be at a dance recital or do what I need to do. I think that's how you don't burn out. And I think that's how you stay happy in your job. And I'm super happy in my job and I love my job. And I'm like one of those lucky people that gets to say I really like my job and I'm good at it. And I think that's because I'm really clear on like my why and I'm not overdoing it.
And you're a multiple time President's Club winner.
I'm a multiple time P Club winner. I'm going next year for sure.
Hell yeah, I love it. Michelle, thank you for joining us. Everybody stick around for a 60-second recap coming up soon.
As someone who has burnt the candle on both ends in sales, I have mortgaged my relationship in favor of President's Club. I have mortgaged friendships in favor of President's Club. And folks, if you haven't looked at Michelle's background, multiple time President's Club, you can raise a family, you can have relationships, you can have friendships, and you can make it to President's Club. And if making President's Club requires you to literally end every other source of joy in your life, there will be a point where you have to step away from President's Club because that is the only way that you have learned to make it. So I appreciate you sharing that, Michelle.
I love that, Armand. My first sales job, my manager said, Michelle, you get sick at the beginning of every single month because you are too crazy at the end of every single month. And it changed how I do things. And it also made me start saying, like, okay, my job supports my life. My life doesn't support my job. I really like my job, but like my job supports my life. My job gives me the life I want, not the other way around.
Alrighty, folks, it's time for a 3-step recap and one thing you should do. All right, step number 1. Whenever you need to meet with a prospect because it's trying to not negotiate over email, maybe they said they're moving in another direction, maybe they pushed out the deal, you need to manufacture a reason in their best interest. So, for example, if someone says, hey, we want to move forward, but timing's a little bit off, then you might say, hey, totally get it. You mind if I give you a buzz around 3 p.m.? I just had a couple ideas on implementation, right? That's in their best interest. Number 2, when you're managing your references, you need to prep both sides. That means your customer, jump on a call with them and make sure that they know the exact things your prospect is going to ask about. And then number 2, jump on the reference call itself with both your prospect and your customer and make sure that it starts off well. Oh, and by the way, also prep your prospect and explain what your customer is and is not, or how your customer is and is not similar to them. And then lastly, number 3, pro tip that you can use for every single meeting you need to schedule with your prospects, always just say, hey, can I give you a buzz whenever you're driving next? It sounds way lighter than scheduling another meeting.
And one thing that you can do, Michelle talked about the concept of just picking up the phone and calling customers and finding a reason to go have a conversation. And so chances are, if you're listening to this episode, you have a demo scheduled with multiple people for next week, or you've got a pricing conversation that you're in the middle of. Pick one of your deals, pick up the phone and call a customer with a reason to have a conversation before your next scheduled meeting. You might do that, hey, I'm preparing your custom demo. I want to make sure that we're doing a little bit of prep so this thing really hits the mark. Or, hey, I know we're going to have a pricing conversation later this week, or I know we're near the end of this deal. I wanted to talk with you about a couple different options. So pick one of your deals, pick a way that you could accelerate, and pick up the phone and call your customer.
And Nick, how could people help us out here?
You can pick up the phone and call somebody on your team and say, hey, this was a really good episode. You should listen to it. Or if that seems weird to you, maybe you just text a friend and say, hey, you might like this episode of 30 MPC.
Or you can pick up the phone and call a friend who wants to work for 30 Minutes to President's Club, because we're hiring for 3 roles, an SMB AE, a commercial AE, and then a seller who wants to become a content creator, sort of like Devin Reed, the greatest of all time. And so, folks, we will put links to those 3 jobs in the show notes, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace.